Welcome everyone to Nordic Coffee Chats with Leslea.
And Kathy.
We're so excited you could join us for our first podcast.
In this first episode, we will be focusing on Leslie's story. How come Leslea is in Denmark? What brought her here?
Well, as Kathy has phrased many years ago, I am a love pat. So I came here to marry my Dane in 2007. So I'm coming up to nearly 18 years in Denmark.
18 years?
18 long years, yes. And what about you, Kathy? How long have you been here again? Is it?
I'm acting all surprised, but it's pretty much the same. It's 17 years this summer.
Affectionately, we're termed lifers now, so we're here for good, as far as we know. I'm planning to stay here anyway, but
Me too.
I came here to marry a Dane.
I just shook the whole camera.
Okay, don't worry.
Okay. So where did you meet your Dane?
I actually met my Dane in Cairo. So it was a Europe and Middle East conference. I was one of the speakers and he was one of the delegates. And so we met in Egypt, and that was in the November of 2006, and we were married in the November of 2007.
So long distance.
Long distance. So our first date actually wasn't until the January, just because of family commitments and that type of thing. And my husband proposed 6 weeks later, because in all of that time we'd been talking and getting to know each other. And we always realized that we would be living here in Denmark because I have a stepson who was 7 at the time. And then we basically went back and forth every 2 weeks, either 2 weeks in Denmark. Alan would come and see me in England, so that's how we did it. And then we were married in the following year.
And you got married in England or Denmark?
We got married in both.
Of course you did.
Because, you know, when you wait until you get married when you're in your 40s, I did it twice. So the legal one was here in Copenhagen, and then a week later we had actually a church wedding with lots of family and friends. So we did it actually twice.
Amazing. And you moved to Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And what happens? How were the first few months? You felt great, or there were challenges? What were you faced with?
Well, I arrived in the November, and you know I'm British, so the weather doesn't faze me, but I didn't realise how unbelievably cold it could be here. It feels like it's got warmer over the years I've been here, but in those early days, my gosh, it was cold. I didn't speak any Danish at all. I could maybe count to 10. I think I had a CD in the car in those days where I was practicing. But I actually used to go shopping and think, oh gosh, what am I buying? Is that yogurt? Is that milk? What is it? And I think, like a lot of you out there, trying to navigate just shopping was fun. I was so used to working. So I would be working since I was like 18 years old, even when I was a student. So not working was difficult. And I would ring Alan constantly through the day saying, oh, what time will you be home? Because I was thinking, you know, what am I going to do with my time? And of course, you don't have a natural network. You don't have friends. They're all at home. So those first couple of months were a little bit of a challenge, but friends joined us for New Year. Very close friends came over and joined us for New Year. So that was good. And I think it was just trying to get myself sorted, get myself signed up for Danish classes, and which happened, I think, in the January of that year, where I met some really good friends. But those few early months, it was just trying to find out, what does Denmark offer? Who is it? You know, what type of country is it? What culture? You know, visiting back and forth, it feels very much like a little bit of a holiday. So when you actually move here, it was just navigating all that. So yeah, that's what I found out the first couple of years.
Did you have a plan for yourself professionally? Did you know what you wanted to do? Or were you thinking this is a clean slate and I can basically do whatever I want?
I think I just always thought I would just carry on doing what I've been doing. So I was in communications, and I assumed that being a native English speaker, everyone speaks English in Denmark, and there are a lot of international companies. I assumed the job search would be a bit like at home.
Right.
Yeah. So like very few times have I even applied for a job. I've maybe applied and thought, do I want it or not? Or, you know, sometimes you get headhunted. And so I assumed it would work that way here, and it was just tumbleweed. So yeah, the plan wasn't to be unemployed for as long as I was, but that's just how it was. Yeah.
How did you feel with that?
It wasn't so bad in the early days because I managed to get pregnant quite quickly. So I had my son in that first year. So trying to find, going to Denmark, trying to find out how to how to have a baby here, how does it work with a midwife, how to get those checks done at the doctors. It was all in English, of course, because I couldn't speak Danish. So I was trying to navigate all of that. And then I'd met some friends through my Danish class, one who was also pregnant. So we had our babies around the same time. So that was quite nice. So I just felt that first year was a little bit of a trial and error. So not feeling so much pressure to find a job, but not wanting to spend any money. And, it just felt, it felt weird. I'd never had such a long break off out of the workforce, really. So that was difficult.
That was difficult. Was it a little bit of an identity crisis? Because a lot of people say that when you've been working, you've been focused on your professional life, you move, and then you go through that stage where, and we all know in Denmark, it is tough, where you're not working, you're not getting any interviews. A lot of people say they feel a bit of identity crisis. Did you feel that?
I definitely used to identify myself by my job. So that was really, really strange. When people would say, oh, what do you do? I'd think, I don't do anything. Who am I? And I've gone through a very, very long process of realizing that it's not about, the job doesn't define you. Being a mother doesn't define you. It's, your worth is intrinsic. So that was a very hard lesson to learn, and it took me a very, very long time to get over that. Actually, it wasn't a quick fix. It wasn't, it's not my job, it's not who I am. But actually, it took me a long time to gain my confidence back before I got my next job, because I did lose a lot of confidence in that time. And being a new mum in a new country where you don't speak the language,
and newly married,
and a stepmom, so living a single life for a number of years, and then getting married and having to relocate, miss family, miss friends. It's a lot to contend with. So I do get it when people say they're having a difficulty sort of settling in.
Right. What was helpful to you? Did you have any tools? Was it instinctual behavior or things that you did to help yourself?
I think it really helped that I had a good Danish family. And I think my sister-in-law helped me with the whole baby thing, give me an idea of how things worked here. My in-laws were lovely to me, so they didn't actually speak English. So it's a rare thing, I know, in Denmark, but they didn't. But they really tried to communicate through my husband and just say, you're here, we're here to help you, how can we help you? That really helped. I think as well, just trying to find out from the very, very early limitations of Facebook, which had only just started, how can I find different groups,
Right.
and finding a faith community as well for me is really important. So that really helped in those early days, just meeting some really great women who just were all internationals, but really did help me understand how things worked and where maybe I could go and get some help. But it wasn't the setup that there is now. There wasn't social media. LinkedIn was only just a nice to have for me when I joined here. So I didn't have that sort of setup really. So that was tricky, I've got to say.
Yeah. So you had support, so you had support, and then you were taking initiative and being proactive with also finding groups or communities where you could also find your people.
Yeah. And I don't think I did that very well.
Why?
I think because we didn't have social media then, without somebody saying to you, oh, have you tried this organization?
Yeah.
Thankfully, I met this lovely lady and she said, oh, I'm going to a Link brunch. And I said, oh, what's Link? So she'd been here. Emil would maybe have been about just over a year. So maybe I'd been in Denmark a couple of years, and I discovered Link. And that was a really great help. That's a great group of women who, and especially met through the day because I wasn't working, which was nice for me.
Yeah.
So I met some great women through that group who are really good friends to this day. And so that helped.
Amazing.
But I didn't really know any others. So
No.
yeah.
Did you have a mom's group that you were a part of as well?
I did have a mum group. We were all international. So there was one Danish lady who was on her fourth son, actually. And so she worked with international. So she gave us a bit of advice and guidance. But it's not like we could meet regularly. Two of them went back to jobs quite quickly.
Right.
And then one lived quite far away. So it wasn't like it was like a natural group that just carried on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a bit of a struggle as well. Yeah.
Okay, so just to recap, biggest challenge after arriving?
I think probably finding my tribe, finding my friends.
Mm-hmm. And the best thing that happened to you?
Having a baby here in Denmark, because the system and the service is quite extraordinary. I had my own room with my husband, with my baby, and it was just like I was in a 4-star hotel. And I had friends having babies at the same time in England who were on a ward with maybe 9 or 10 women. And so I was thinking, oh gosh, this is just lovely. So actually that was a real benefit. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So now we are currently 2025, and I'm focusing a little bit on your professional life. What is it that you do?
So I help internationals find jobs, whether that's through helping them with their LinkedIn, CV, cover letter. But the biggest part of what I help them with is the networking, is visibility, is trying to make your mark when you arrive in Denmark. And that's probably the biggest thing you have. So you arrive here as a professional and you think it's going to be very similar to what you're used to at home. And it's a bit of a shock to find out that actually around 21% of the jobs are posted. The rest are filled through networking, which of course you generally have to start with from scratch. You generally have to start from the beginning. So that's how I really help my clients, and really understanding Danish culture, how things work here, how to approach Danes, what Danes are like, their culture as a people, you know, how they want to be approached, how they want, what information that they need for their application. So I'm really helping internationals mold into a very Danish way, but not lose who they are. So they bring a little bit an extra. If you come from another country, you're bringing something that probably you can't get from a Dane. So that's the extra. So I say, don't lose yourself in the process. So that's what I'm trying to do. And I've been doing it now for nearly 6 years, just about to celebrate our 6th birthday.
Brilliant. How come you got into this type of work?
Well, I'd got back into my field for many years, worked for some great organisations, and suddenly found myself unemployed in 2018. Met my former business partner online on Facebook. She was offering a CV review, and I thought, well, let's get my CV up to date. It's been a number of years. We became really good friends, and then I joined her in the organisation, and that's where we started doing what we're doing now. And then after COVID, she managed to get a job that she couldn't say no to. And we always agreed from day one that if one of us had that opportunity, we'd talk about it. So that was a bit of a shock, but we knew that it was the best thing. And so I've been running the organisation since then on my own, and really, really love it, and developed it, and have some great collaborations with some great organisations here. So I'm really enjoying it, and I keep in touch with a former business partner because she introduced me to triathlons and getting a little bit fitter, and so we often swim together as well. So that's really good.
Beautiful. So the professional part came from a personal place.
Yeah.
Yes. Is it safe to say that's also probably why you're so passionate and so great at it, because your heart is in it?
Yeah. I think I'm an empath, naturally. I love people. And I can remember going away for a weekend before I met my former business partner, and I had a life coaching weekend. I was thinking, right, what can I do next? What skills do I have? What can I transfer them into something new? I wasn't sure I wanted to go back into comms again. And then from that, born this idea that I could help others. And I thought, I've been through this whole process, the difficult process of working out what I call the unwritten rules. And because of that, I can generally say to my clients, I really do understand how you feel.
Yeah.
Because I do. I've been there, got the T-shirt, read the novel. And I really feel like I can impart some compassion and understanding during the process. And a lot of my clients say that to me afterwards. It's like, you really understood me, you really got it. And I thought, well, because I've lived it. And so I've got the practical knowledge of helping them get to interview and get to jobs. But also I think I've just got that heart, connection, which makes a big difference.
And I think it's huge for them, right? To feel that this is someone who actually really gets me 100%.
Yeah, because you can feel completely isolated. You can feel like they're the only one looking for a job, which is why I encourage my job seekers at workshops or webinars to connect with somebody else. So you're doing that job search together. You don't feel like you're doing it on your own. And I feel like I can really impart hope and a bit of motivation again. I mean, just the other week, somebody came to a workshop and said, I just lost all motivation, but I feel like I really want to go back and really work on my LinkedIn profile. I really feel like I want to start doing a little bit more into my field, and thinking maybe I can go and do maybe use those transferable skills into something new. And that's what I love about it. I love just being able to talk to people. So it's just a natural thing for me to do. It's something I love. I'm an extrovert. I love meeting people, helping people. So it just ticks all the boxes, really.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could do what I'm doing now without having gone through those hard years.
That's an important part of it, right? That
Yeah.
that I think living it is such a huge part of what we can bring to the table with helping. Definitely. I think your work is so meaningful and it's so great. And I think, all the internationals are really blessed to have this opportunity, because not to have a bit of a, sad, sappy story here, but we did not have that. We didn't have people like you and others who are out there helping, right?
Yeah, we just had the job centre. And of course, if you're not in the system with the job centre, they can't really help you. So if you're in an ACASA and you're paying into the system,
Yeah.
and then you're on Dow paying or unemployment benefit, then you can get concrete help because you're part of the system. But I wasn't part of that. So when I went in there thinking, oh, you could help me with my CV cover letter, they're like, no, we can't. Here's a list of job portals where you can apply for a role. So I couldn't find help anywhere. There was nowhere that I could go to or get help from. So that was really difficult those early years. Now there's a lot of areas. I encourage people to go down to their international house, their local international house, and get help, because it's really set up and geared up for newcomers. Like it would have been lovely 17 years ago for me.
Yeah. So we're in Denmark, and life balance is a huge part of it. You mentioned already a little bit of, you have certain hobbies. I would say they're also a bit Nordic Viking based. What is it that you do during your free time so that you do have the energy to help all of the internationals?
Well, when the water's a little bit warmer, I'm an open water swimmer. So I can't bear my face in the cold water during winter. But I've discovered open water swimming. Like, I don't think I've been in a swimming pool for years because I can't bear the thought of being in chlorinated water when I'm so used to now being outside. Wild swimming, whatever you want to call it, I love it. And during the winter, I cold dip. This is actually my first season cold dipping, and yeah, it's my first one. I absolutely love it. Yeah. So, and I go with a great group on a Friday, and then I have a buddy, Anna Margaret, who basically introduced me to it. And so we meet every week and we cold dip and encourage each other. And I think that's probably the one thing that really, really keeps me sane.
Yeah.
The water's my happy place. It always has been being a very small child, going to swimming club, twice a day when I was a kid, and competing. It's always been a happy place for me. And I think that, and living on an island, and within 15 minutes you're at the beach. I mean, you really can't complain about living here when it's something like that. And yes, so the sort of triathlon thing has only been one, but definitely there's
You've done a triathlon.
I did a mini, yeah.
Okay.
And really enjoyed it, but I really wasn't prepared for it. But I think now I'd really like to spend the summer really getting better on the bike.
Would you like to do a full one?
No, I would not like to do an Ironman. I'm not capable of that, and I wouldn't even want to even pretend. But I'd like to do one level up. I'd maybe like to do an Olympic or something like that. So you do like a little bit more. The swimming I don't mind at all. That's the easy bit.
Yeah.
It's the running and the cycling, which I'm hopeless at both. So it's something that you can always improve on. So that's what I like to do.
Okay. And the open water swimming, so how far do you swim? Let's say let's take a typical, I don't know, training or day where you're saying, right, I'm going out to swim. So how far would you be swimming?
I mean, not before I had a little bit of a shoulder injury. So last year would probably only be about 600 meters. Before that would be about 1.8 kilometers for a nice swim. Because we usually go to Amma.
Yeah.
And you just basically it's easy to follow like the Ironman route. So if you go to the bridge and back, you know how far you've gone. So you can sort of measure how far you're going. That's the easiest bit. But yeah, just however far we go, however fit we are, we build up over the season. And then we work that way. So yeah.
Is it a club or is it?
No, I'm not part of a club. I've always managed to hook up with somebody who enjoys it too.
Okay.
And then we just do it together. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So just to round up, if I were to ask you 3 top tips for those who are arriving to Denmark, what would you tell them? What's important? What to keep in mind?
Okay. I would say try and go to as many events that you can see locally. Try and find something that you love. So you're doing something that you enjoy and then you're meeting people at the same time. If you want to build your professional network, try and go to events that maybe at your local community is running to start with, if you can join something like that. If not, join us, of course, English Job Denmark. Of course, I'm going to give myself a plug, but we do events and webinars where you can come and learn about the job search process, how to develop your career. And then the other one would be just try and talk to, if you have children here, try and talk to a parent at the gate.
Yes.
Even if your kid's in Danish school, Danish parents, I know sometimes feel nervous speaking English. Everyone just assumes Danes feel confidently speaking English, but they don't all. But just try and find one parent and say, look, I can't speak Danish yet, but could you just share about how things work here? And honestly, sign up for Danish classes, because just having just the basics of Danish is really going to help you. And if you do think you're going to be here long term, it's really great to be able to speak the language, because everything comes to you through digital form, and it's all in Danish. So if you can't speak Danish, it's a little bit of a tricky thing. So network, go to events, find something you love, and learn Danish would be my top 3.
Amazing. And the last thing, something that not many people know about you, but you're willing to share with us here today, like an interesting character trait or...
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I know this is strange, but when I was in 2B, which I was around 8 years old, I had an amazing history teacher who introduced me to the Vikings and Saxons and that era, and I've been obsessed with that ever since. So living in the land of the Vikings is really something special for me. So my husband has taken me to a number of places where you can see where Vikings live, and actually live day to day as Vikings in the modern day.
Wow.
And I'm obsessed with the history. So for me, coming from the northeast of England, which is one of the first places the Vikings landed on English shores, is just like I feel like I've done a whole full circle. So yes, I'm a bit obsessed with the likes of the Vikings and the Last Kingdom and all those types of shows. So yeah, I'm obsessed with the Vikings. So I ended up marrying one. So there you go.
Couldn't be any other way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Leslea, for sharing your story with us.
Yeah.
And we hope and we're looking forward to seeing you during our next episode. And if you've liked this one, so this is the introductory bit, please hit the subscribe button. There's more to come from us, and feel free also to leave us a message as to what you would like to hear about.